Howdy everybody. In this presentation I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about your case reviews, um, how they're supposed to be, what the expectations are, because there seems to be a little bit of kind of confusion sometimes about exactly what we're doing. Case reviews are case reviews, they're not research papers. Don't write a research paper on the topic. You're going to review the case that you're assigned or that you select, or a case on the topic that you select for the second case review. The first case review is going to be a landmark case that you will choose the particular case that was heard by the U.S. Supreme Court. The second case review, you assigned a topic and you're going to have to do some research using scholar.google.com and limiting your search to Texas Court of Criminal Appeals cases for a case where that particular topic was the point of error was concerning that topic. So the cases have to be out of the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. They can't be any other court. So if you've got a case that says U.S. versus somebody, don't use it. That's not a Texas Court of Criminal Appeals case. It's got to be a Texas case. It's got to be the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. I won't accept anything else. It cannot be a research paper. It has got to be a case review. I've had issues with people doing that just aren't reading the instructions. They're used to doing research papers. They do it. These case reviews don't take that long. You're wasting your time doing a research paper when it's simply a case review. The only source that you should have for this case review is the court's decision, the court case. Don't use anything else or you're not doing the assignment. So I don't need anything from some legal scholar what their opinion is on it. I want what you see in the case. And then, some of these cases are lengthy, so you'll have to spend some time and be very careful in reading it. Let me get out of the way and I'll pull up the expectations for you. And again, as I said before, the case reviews, for the first case, you're going to pick one of these cases that was heard before the U.S. Supreme Court. You will find a copy of that case. Again, you can go through Google Scholar to find it. And it's the decision of the court only. They will outline in that decision what the point of error was. They might not identify it that way, but they will identify it somewhere in there. And it will often be many different issues, so you're going to have to look around for what the key issue is. Then they're going to say what decision they made and why they made it. Then there may be some concurring opinions, which are opinions where the justice agrees with the decision of the majority, but the justice came to that conclusion using maybe some different type of logic. He might agree for a different reason. So that's one of the things you may be writing about. Then there are dissenting opinions. These are opinions that go against the majority. They too are going to write about why they decided what they decided. You've got to keep in mind that's not the decision of the court. It's not unusual for me to get people that just kind of skip through to the end, and it's usually towards the end where we have this dissenting opinion and they totally get the decision wrong. So read carefully. You need to read the entire thing. You don't need to skip through it, making sure that the opinion you're working on is the opinion of the court. Now again, that was the first one. The second one is you've got several topics you'll be choosing from. Then you will go to googlescholar.com and I'll just show you where to find that. This will come up. And let me raise this up a little so you can see where I'm typing. It's scholar.google.com. When you click on that, it will come up. Click on case review for this one. Then you will click on select courts. And then you'll come down here to Texas, wherever Texas is. Let's find it. There is Texas, and you want to just click on the Court of Criminal Appeals. None of the other courts in Texas, just the Court of Criminal Appeals. And then you will click on Done. And now it's going to search the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, and you can search for anything you want and come up with oh, they don't have my name in there now. It used to be in there. Let me try this again. Oh well. Let's see. One of my cases. see if it's no longer in the decisions. There it is. So anyway, you'll find some of these issues in there. Whatever your issue is, I guess I could have just chosen one of the issues. Let's see. Let's try expectation of privacy. Let's see if we can find something on that. And then you would go in here, put that in the title there, and then the states, in Villarreal versus State, the states counter-argued that there was no legitimate expectation of privacy in the residence. So again, you will have to read through this case to make sure that it actually, that has to do with the point of error. You kind of slowly read through it. It's a Harris County case, and you're going to have a lot of stuff to read before you can break it down to what the decision is. But that's the whole point here, is you're going to spend time reading these and coming up with the point of error and their holding, which is their decision, and so forth. Okay, so that is for the Texas state. Excuse me, the second one, where it's got to be a Texas decision. So let's go in here and we'll look at the instructions real quick for this. There is a template that you must use. You must use that template. Don't just write this on your own. Use the template. The report's got to be the APA format. So what you will do, and this isn't the template, this is the instructions, but the template's going to be in a similar format. You would put your case information here. It would just say, if this were Miranda versus Arizona you did, and you would simply put Miranda versus Arizona, put your name, put the course number, put the due date, leave my name there. Then on the second one, right here for your title page, it's going to put Miranda versus Arizona, Jones versus State, or whatever. Your paper's got to be in the APA format. That first paragraph, you're not going to talk about your particular case. You're going to talk about the area of the point of error. So in Miranda, you would talk about the constitutional rights we have involving the right to have an attorney, the right against self-incrimination, and how important this is. You may mention something about it's such an important right that the courts, that the police should inform you of, that you have these rights. Something like that. You're not talking about your particular case. You're talking about what it's about. And then you're going to have that thesis sentence there where you'll say something about, in the case of Miranda versus Arizona, the U.S. Supreme Court made a decision on this issue, or looked at this issue, or something of that nature. The next section is the factual summary. In this one, it's a brief description of the history of the case. It's going to be about a paragraph or two, and you're going to describe the original crime that led to the arrest of the defendant, the conduct of the justice officials that is in question, why the conduct's in question, what happened during the trial or pleas, and the punishment they received, and then the appellate process that brought it to the present hearing. Keep in mind, the appellate process can be very important in all these cases. These cases are going to be held at the court of last resort, either the U.S. Supreme Court or the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. So it's a possibility that the defense won the original appeal to the lower courts, and now the state is appealing the decision of the lower courts. You have to be very careful to make sure who is making the appeal, because that will change your description of what's going on. So if the defendant's found guilty in district court, he appeals it to the Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals agrees with him and overturns the decision of the lower court. The state then appeals it up to the Court of Criminal Appeals. Then the decision, if they reverse the decision, they would be reversing the decision of the appellate court and agreeing with the original court. So you just kind of be careful of that. And that's what some of the things you want in the factual summary. Next, you're going to talk about what the point of error is. Another paragraph. Look at the precise legal issue. There could be multiple issues. Again, you're going to talk about the one main issue, but you mention the others. And you're talking about what's being debated. If there are issues that are not covered in your topic, name them. You don't have to spend a lot of time on them. You don't have to summarize the ruling on those issues, but just name them, that they also looked at some other things. The next section is going to be the holding, and this is the decision of the court, indicating the statement of the law that was handed down, that the principal law that it established, and the precedents that it may have set. Explain the judge's ruling, why they ruled it. They're going to talk a lot about their decision, and they're going to base it upon previous cases. You should include all relevant reasoning that the judges used to reach the decision. In other words, why did the judge decide the case the way he did? What was their logic? What was their rationale? Did they rely heavily on a particular precedent to make their decision? Keep it kind of short, but cover everything. Now, as I mentioned before, you can have concurring opinions. These are opinions where they agree with the decision, but for a different reason. So if you've got a concurring opinion, please be sure to include that in there, and include what they, why their decision was different, what was different about what they based it upon. The next thing, there can be a dissenting opinion. And then this is the one you want to be very careful if it shows up, that you don't confuse it with the decision of the court as a whole. So when you do have a dissenting opinion, you're going to write about it and tell us what the dissenting opinion was and why. And then finally, you're going to have a conclusion. In your conclusion, you're going to write briefly a brief summary of the case, including your opinion on what influences this decision could have in other policing. So you're going to kind of wrap things up. You're going to talk about, if you agreed with the justice's decision. Obviously, if you don't agree with it, it's kind of too bad, because the decision rules. But you need to kind of look at that. And then finally, you're going to have your reference page. That's all that should be in the reference page, is a single court case. And it should be in the format of the name of the case, and then the legal descriptor, and which court it is, and the date that the decision was handed down. So we kind of use that. That's it. And I can't reiterate enough, this is not going to be a research paper. The original one, you have to do the particular case that you selected, just that one case. You don't look for any other cases. The second one has to be a case on the topic you selected, as that was part of the point of error, and it has to be, let me say this again, it has to be a Texas Court of Criminal Appeals case. If you do one that's a U.S. Supreme Court, if you do one that's another state, I won't accept it. You'll have to do it again. So do not do one for a different state. Do not do one for the U.S. Supreme Court. They will not, under any circumstances, be accepted. It has to be a Texas decision. It has to be the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. So I don't think I can emphasize that enough. Please, this is a very simple, short thing. It shouldn't take you more than an hour or two to complete. Don't write a research paper. You're wasting your time. That is not the assignment. You're spending way too much time on something that you shouldn't be spending that time on. Well, guys, that's about it. Please watch this video and turn in some good papers. I'm looking forward to it. I always enjoy reading them.